Alright guys, so here we are today reviewing Rchain and their scalable blockchain for applications, right?
Welcome to the show, everybody. It's the Crypto Lark. Today I'm honored to have with me Lawrence Lerner. He is the CEO of Pythia, the marketing lead over at Rchain, and Nash Foster. He is the CEO of Pyrofix, and they are the guys behind the development of Rchain. So guys, welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Now, I think before the best place to start here really is, what is Rchain? Can you guys give us the elevator pitch?
You want to go first, or?
Yeah, sure. So Rchain is, a blockchain platform that's built on the observation that current platforms are having trouble with security and scalability, and it's designed to be both secure, scalable, and sustainable in the long run by using a smart contracting language that allows people to express their intent more clearly, so they won't have as many bugs, using a proof of stake algorithm so that we don't have to spend as much energy to sustain the network, and then building it out on top of a next generation sharding architecture that will allow us to scale to the moon.
Now, first thing I can say, beautiful website. Rchain, you've done it again. I'm impressed. All right? I say this all the time just because there is a clear distinction between good projects, good websites, bad projects, bad websites. If the website is shit, the chance that the project is actually going to be worthwhile is like zero. All right? Beautiful website. Oh, just look at this. Gosh, it appeases the eye. And there's even more to follow. They didn't just make a nice website, they actually have a project behind it.
And I feel like I didn't stress how cool this project actually is. I mean, it uses concurrent technology. This basically means that, stuff can process. Actually, wait, they have a good description right here. Let's check out their Rchain architecture. Architecture overview. Concurrency versus parallelism. Anyway, yeah. It is essential for the reader to understand the implications of concurrent execution. When we say concurrency, we are not referring to simultaneous execution of multiple processes. That is parallelism. Yep, that is. Concurrency is a structural property which allows independent processes to compose into complex processes.
But what is your proposal to improve scalability?
Well, for us, scalability really has two different components. On the smart contracting side, we've got a new language called Rchain, and it's based on, it originates from some work by a guy named Milner who developed something called the pi calculus, which is a model of computation that's inherently concurrent. Contrast that with languages like JavaScript or Solidity or what have you. Those languages are based on von Neumann machines where at best you can bolt concurrency onto the side. But in general, we have a lot of trouble reasoning about how concurrent systems would actually work. So that's one aspect. The concurrency of Rchain then gives rise to our sharding architecture, which we call namespaces.
Rchain is trying to solve the scalability issue amongst blockchains, right? The issue that Ethereum has, right? So basically, in a way, it's similar to EOS, right? EOS's value prop is that they're going to be much faster than Ethereum in terms of transactions per second.
Some of the industries they're approaching in terms of large scale are like enterprise and industrial opportunities, and it's all based on cost because they know that putting some of these large chains, millions and millions of transactions on the blockchain is so much cheaper. So industries that they're looking for right now is like insurance, supply chain, healthcare, legal, even music. And these are all just industries that have lots and lots of scale and lots of transactions. So, they're going to be working on stuff like storage, document transfer, property title transfers, identity solutions, membership onboarding, like all these different things.
The proof of stake, proof of work debate is certainly an interesting one. I know there's a lot of other projects that have come out recently, and they're going proof of work. They say, well, it's got that 10 years of provability, whereas proof of stake methods, we're not sure if they're going to be secure enough in the long run. What do you guys say to that?
Proof of work is just unsustainable in the long run. And there's more depth to it. And there, at the end, we'll give you all the GitHub and links to social media so that your viewers can follow on.
Okay, great.
another important thing to take a look at is the team. So they have a list of the team here, and they have a list there, and then most of the team is on the board of directors anyways, so we'll just take a look down here with the pictures. You can see the team. So Greg Meredith, all right, he was previously working on Scenario. Scenario was aiming to be like a social media thing on the blockchain, but they couldn't do it because of scalability, all right, issues like that. So Greg Meredith left Scenario. He started his own vision, his own project, Rchain, and that's what this is. So, what has he done? Well, he's worked with Scenario previously, all right? He was the principal architect in Microsoft BizTalk project orchestration. So he'd worked for Microsoft for a while, all right? So yes, he's what I would call a heavy hitter. Hitter. That's it, heavy hitter. All right. Also, we have Kenny Rowe, the Chief Operating Officer. All right. Head of Operations at MakerDAO. All right. Another experience. Senior Consultant at CoinFund, who's in charge of most of the ICOs. So another heavy hitter. How about this guy, Alexander Volkin, Co-founder and Managing Partner at CoinFund. All right. Another heavy hitter. Math and computer science, all that fun stuff. So we have a whole bunch of heavy hitters on the team. We also have people who have worked, the advisors work with Ethereum. So they have the connections there in the blockchain. Here we go. Vlad Zamfir. Okay, he's most known for his research and design work on Casper, the proof-of-stake consensus protocol for the Ethereum project.
Rchain is basically, if we read here, right? The Rchain decentralized applications platform is powered by the Rho virtual machine. What they're doing is they're creating some new virtual machine and programming language called Rolang, which essentially brings concurrency, right? So they can basically have multiple operations or whatever running at the same time on chain.
So the first thing that Rchain offers is it offers a new language in Rolang that is purposely built to process applications quickly. So this is a very bad representation put together by myself, but if you imagine you had the Rchain network and the actual existing token is actually an Ethereum based token which will be exchanged for Rev tokens in the future. So when you've got these Rev tokens that are going through all the nodes, you'll have different nodes that will use different digital applications, dApps. So for instance, if we said Visa was operating on Rchain, that could operate completely separate on different nodes within the Rchain network to say Facebook that was running over here, and they wouldn't actually be working together. Now, if you take Ethereum at the moment, Ethereum is a typical blockchain. So it works that every transaction is passed around the network and validated. Now, that takes a lot of time, and it means that there's a lot of information that's recorded that might not be required. So if you look here, why do Facebook want to know about Visa transactions on the other side of the world? They don't really need to. Now, the other thing that Rchain are also looking at is, if I send my brother $70 on the Rchain network, does that need to be recorded on the blockchain? No, I don't need it. I'm sure my brother just wants his $70. So what Rchain are also looking to do is actually have a charging structure that reflects that if you don't want your information to be recorded on the blockchain, you can actually opt to not have it there and you will pay cheaper transactions, which is quite unique. Now, it's not what you would class as a typical blockchain, but it starts to deal with the scaling issues. If you can reduce the amount of information that needs to be recorded, then that's another way of actually speeding up the network.
I believe is what they're saying, right? So anyway, in general, right, they're trying to go for 40,000 transactions per second initially, and all the way to 100,000 transactions per second. It's a new blockchain platform rooted in a formal model of concurrent and decentralized computation.
But basically, they want to build a blockchain that's going to be able to scale for industries. All right, right now we have blockchains like Ethereum that's bloated, that can't keep up with just one game called CryptoKitties. We have Bitcoin, which is slow. However, Atomic Swap's coming up. You know, all that. I mean, Lightning Network, whatever, all that stuff. But they want something that's going to be able to scale to industrial sizes, and they want to provide content delivery at the scale of Facebook with the transaction speeds of Visa. That's what they're aiming to do, to begin with 40,000 transactions per second and then scale upwards from there.
But if we think about how much information and data is actually stored on the blockchain, this is what bogs it down a lot. So data storage is definitely a fundamental part of our chain. They're so big on doing this. There's other industries and other projects that want to get in on this piece because they're going to be able to store so much information here.
Now, who do you see as being your target market for Rchain? What are the potential use cases for Rchain?
Well, certainly developers we want more than anything else because they're going to build things. Use cases anywhere, whether it's highly scalable, complex, insurance, identity, things around exchanges where there's lots of concurrency, many transactions per second. It's got to be scalable and secure. Those are the things where there's lots of use cases. I mean, I could list about 20. I've got 2 investments we're going to close and about 9 more in the pipeline, and I'm sure Nash is working on a number of things that we can talk to.
All right, so this is definitely a long-term project, guys. This is not a quick flip in my opinion, but we'll go through that during this review. Right, so as you can see, right, this is, in my opinion, not just a white paper ICO, right? They already have all this stuff here.
What they have done, they have created their own programming language, Rchain. All right, it's a Turing complete. The Rchain programming language is used for the Rho virtual machine. All right, which is Turing complete, Byzantine fault tolerant, and replicated. Now, what does that mean? Well, basically, they have a whole bunch of little Rho virtual machines. So each one is going to be complete in and of itself, and it'll be going aimed for like 40,000 transactions per second per little Rho virtual machine. But if they need scaling, boom, on another one, and then they'll both be going. And if they need more scaling, boom, on another one, and all 3 will be going. And if they need another one, boom, on 4, and all of them will be going at the same time. And that's how they're going to be doing it. That means that they're going to be sharding, and no, not shitting when you try and fart, but sharding by design to help deal with scalability. Awesome, we all know this is the year where scalability needs to be solved.
This is a project that's running. It's not just a pipe dream, it's not a white paper project. We have some fantastic individuals who are putting a project together which is on a clear roadmap, and it's a working project.
You know, we've got an open community. We're a cooperative. The co-op itself is a 501c3 Washington State cooperative. We've got meetups set up around the world: Seattle, San Francisco, Austin, Salt Lake, New York, Clearwater. London is coming online. I just spoke to some folks in Moscow who are interested in starting one. We've got a thriving QQ channel with more than 1,000 people in China. The developers are excited for all of the reasons that Nash said earlier. This is a new thing for them to dig their teeth into. This is why they're going to join. And there's enormous participation on our Discord channel.
If we take a look, have they been working on it? You just go to GitHub, hit the repositories button, and you can see they've been working on it pretty consistently.
What's the current transactions per second that you're testing at?
Our target for this year is about roughly 40 to 50,000 transactions a second. We essentially want to be competitive with global financial networks like VisaNet and things like that, and we think that's realistic. We don't see any inherent reason why that would be impossible at this point, so we're hoping to demonstrate that when we launch the testnet later this year.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, and as the project moves forward, I suppose, and we could go past testnet and mainnet, what do you see as the upper ceiling being based on your current projections?
When you build an architecture correctly, the upper ceiling is really based on how much hardware you throw at it. And so the real question is the extent to which this blockchain technology needs to be adopted by business to get work done. Our intent is to build something that's sufficiently scalable and sustainable that we can grow the network to support all the transactions that are needed.
Okay.
And once you get above that number of transactions, you're in uncharted territory anyway. So there's going to be a lot of opportunity. It's about making them meaningful, robust, and secure.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll get to 40,000. From there, then things get really interesting.
Now, if you go and search for a white paper, you're brought to this page here. They do have a white paper from like early 2017, but I think this is updated a bit more often. The last time was July of 2017 here. But this tells you a bit more about the program, a bit about everything they're doing with it. And it's a good one just to give a read through. It tells you everything they're doing.
Moving on, a couple of the things that I like, some side notes here, is they understand that they are going to be a brand new blockchain that's hitting the market. So, you know, when we're talking about change and resistance and people moving over to new platforms, like they recognize that is always an issue. And so what they're doing right now is with that resistance or future resistance, they're doing a lot of stuff like this is what Rchain Holding is doing. They're trying to build the partnerships. They're trying to combat this with education, with information, you know, kind of get people on their teams.
So, all in all, Rchain, how are they? I think they are a good one. I think they've got a clear vision, a very strong team. They could potentially be one of the contenders for overtaking Ethereum, so definitely one to keep an eye on.
Firstly, dApps on Rchain will be built using Rholang, which is their own computer language, and essentially this language is concurrent, and yeah, basically they just made a really strong, secure and really fast language, so that people can build really strong, fast and secure applications. It's quite good.
So all very cool. And one thing that's worth noting is, you know, so there's companies out there that want to use blockchain, but the level that they need it is, you know, the current blockchains can't manage that. They're not performing at a high enough level to transact all their processes.
And they'll use Casper Proof of Stake, which is what I believe Ethereum is currently using at the moment. It's quite good, you know, Proof of Stake is quite nice, it's better than Proof of Work, so I quite like it.
This one is unique and different and exciting, and it provides access to a technology, the blockchain, which is also unique and different and exciting. And so I think that in combination, those two things are going to be very powerful and very, very fun for people.
You know, the second this coin hits something like Binance or, you know, even Bitfinex, I see they're adding a lot of new coins these days. Yeah, we can see the value just spike up. Honestly, that's really good for this coin. I see a bright future for this.
From a Pythia standpoint, that's what we're doing, and that's where we're going to see the real advantage beyond just lots of transactions per second and sharding in namespaces. We're going to be looking for people who become true blockchain architects, especially Rchain architects. That's going to be exciting, and you're going to see some very different types of programming.
The Rho virtual machine is a concurrent virtual machine, and decentralized applications built using Rholang will run on this virtual machine, and they will run concurrently. And that basically means that, you know, stuff can be processed at the same time, and this just leads to applications being able to be extremely scalable, really fast, and yeah, honestly, just an improvement. We're talking about industrial sized applications here running on Rchain because of that.
What's cool about this is they have their business side actively working on this, while the tech side is developing, you know, some of their projects, their use cases, just the overall product that people can build on top of. And so I actually really like that aspect, because they're almost, I don't want to say like they're pre-selling, but they're getting their ducks in a row, so when things launch, they can incorporate some of these things ASAP.
What Rchain are looking to do is, with namespaces, they're actually looking to have an address, almost like a URL. So you have like an address, then a subfolder, so it allows them to direct the actual payments or transactions down to certain paths. You know, just to summarize, you know, we've got concurrency with Rholang, we've got namespaces, we've got Casper coming across from, you know, Ethereum project. You've got, you know, the scalability, having different blockchains working on different nodes.
If you have never heard of Rchain before, in terms of blockchain programs, like we look at everything that's done well in 2017 and into 2018. It's these big blockchain, programs. I kind of mentioned this in the Zilka video. Like these are where things are emerging. These are where people are investing their money. These are the in terms of ROI, the projects that are likely to do the best. So if you're wondering where you can get it, you can actually get it at KuCoin. It's also on Gate.io. Both are fantastic exchanges. I use them both.
What about the token? What is the exact function of the token within the Rchain ecosystem?
Like any other token, it's got an intrinsic value, and there's a value for the transactions, right? And I always write about blockchain every day. If you don't have an earnable token, then you've got to kind of wonder what's the value and purpose. It doesn't just go up because people find value. It's got to be tied to something in it. What are we tying it to? Millions of transactions every day and potentially every hour that it's being used.
The bottom line is that the rev is the token in which, initially speaking, you're going to pay for smart contracts. Just like Ether, it's going to be used to run contracts on the blockchain. And then you'll be able to create your own tokens so that you can experiment with different forms of token economy on Rchain, just like people have been doing on Ethereum.
With Rchain, they have like their security aspect baked right into the Rchain language. Some of these other blockchains, and I can't speak for all of them, security is actually tacked on later as opposed to being built in.
I am a very big fan of this project, and I think it's got so much potential. I think the first thing you've got to understand really about Rchain is what is it attempting to solve. Now, at the moment we know that Bitcoin can process about 7 transactions a second, Ethereum can do about 15. That is not sufficient enough to run, say, a platform like Facebook, which has about 50,000 transactions a second. So what Rchain is looking to do is to solve the scalability issues in blockchain.
Right now, their biggest play is like identity solutions. They're working with companies like Trusted Key, Life ID, everybody in the space. They're also having conversations with credit card companies that want their own microtransactions, that want to have their own loyalty programs. They're talking with universities. They're working with exchanges.
Rchain seem to have the chops to do it. They seem to have the backing. They've recently raised some funds on a private sale, so they're fully funded now to take this project on. They've got a fantastic team with Greg, some great developers.